Chris Salatino from the Utica City School District, the president there. Welcome to the show, Chris. How are you?
Good morning. Great.
Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you finally. I've been on, first of all, I love the studio. It's fantastic here. It really is. It's great to be here.
Yeah.
And I mentioned we used to be neighbors.
Yes.
We used to be neighbors downtown, so don't see you as often.
I'm still there, and things are kind of changing. It's got a new vibe downtown.
Yeah?
You know, I remember my office was down there about 13 years ago, and there wasn't a lot going on, and now you see all of this hustle and bustle, so it's nice to see the transformation.
Yeah, so places to get lunch now
I know.
as soon as we leave.
Yeah, and we take advantage of it all the time, too. Let me tell you about it. We were talking about some of the candidates there and some of the surprises. What surprised you most with regard to the results of the election yesterday?
There was a couple. Jeff Daniels pulled out a great win.
In the ledge,
In the ledge, which was great. The Common Council president, you know, it's tough to defeat an incumbent, and especially when things are going well in the city. But you saw the people speak and chose Galimi, and good for him. Congratulations. It's
pretty
it's
interesting.
a nice win for him.
We're trying to get
the
Mike.
Rome mayor. I mean, that's going to be that's fantastic. I know they're close, but usually I think once you see the ballots coming in, the write-in ballots, they usually follow the candidate that's winning, so hopefully she'll pull it out as well.
Sure. Before we talk about some of the topics of interest to Utica City School District residents and students and teachers, what about this district in Northern California we were talking about earlier this week on the show, where they're scared of, quote, demoralizing their students, so they're making the grading system easier on them and giving out 50s just for basically showing up. Even if you don't answer a single test question or do a stitch of homework, you get a 50, and you can't fail. You cannot fail in this school district in Northern California. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, it goes. There's so many different ways to go with this thing. As I sit here and look at it and go, okay, are we really? And I said this before when we stopped cutting education funding, and I know we're going to talk about it, but I call it the dumbing down of America's students.
Right.
I mean, what are we doing? There's what happened to the work hard and get rewarded for it. Don't work hard and you get penalized for it. What message are we sending to the students? I mean, as far as, you know, don't work hard, you know, stay within mediocrity, and then you'll still be able to get pushed on through.
Yeah, how will they be able to compete in the workforce if they learn these lessons growing up through the school system?
And that's what it is. It's really not. I mean, kids need to work hard. They need to be, you know, we need to probably show them a harder work ethic and say, hey, you know, you got to strive for greatness, strive for better. The world is yours. Go out and take it. I mean, when you tell them, hey, you know what, we'll just push you through. You don't have to work. There's going to be a component of students that'll just fall through.
Right.
And usually you start to see social economics play a part of that, because you can equate, you know, where you are in life, I mean, financially, to education success, and it's unfortunate, but we see it.
Funding is crucial to districts like yours, but I was describing a friend of mine who worked in Florida as a teacher there and would give out grades to students, which then were changed by administrators above her in order to get better funding. That was
we have a standard in our district. There's no grade changing. You know, it is what it is. You know, obviously you can appeal things, and there's opportunities, but at the end of the day, you know, the staff is there to help improve the student's educational life, and really it's they have to work. You have to work at it.
And it's ironic, you know, in comparison to the story that we're talking about out of California and what we see here in New York and the standards, you know, that we're trying to hold our students to. You know, what's the sense? What's the idea behind it? If
exactly.
We want them to work harder, but we're just pushing them through.
But that's what, and I'm going to say the bad word, Common Core was about. The intention of Common Core was to standardize education nationally. The way they rolled it out, and some of the nonsense that went along with it. And I was watching a show on math the other day, and you had a math teacher showing a student that was wrong under the new Common Core because they didn't do, and it was a very simple 3 + 3 question or something like that.
I know, I saw that too.
Did you see it? You have to show the work. And
Right.
it's like, it doesn't make a difference how you get there as long as you get there, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Those are some of the things I didn't like. But as far as Common Core goes, and you see standardizing, this is the reason why we need it.
Sure,
We need
sure.
Standardized education practices.
Thoughts about some of the changes going forward with the governor and implementing to the new education commissioner, the new task force?
Well, there's a lot going on, and I think, you know, the governor came out and they're putting that task force together basically to say, hey, you know what, let's take a look at what we're doing here, and it's a step in the right direction, because he was really staunch about how he wanted to see education, how he rolled out the Common Core, the APPR, which is the teacher accountability. It was almost a perfect storm in the state, because you had You had Common Core come out, which is changing the way we learn.
Back in the John King days with
yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden we threw in the teacher accountability component in there. And then of course we started saying, oh, and by the way, we're going to not fund you. So here you go. We want you to make these changes. We want you to do all this, and we're going to take some money away. And this is where some of the problems came in, because you were asking an awful lot for the teachers. And I think finally they saw that it wasn't being successful.
Right, or asking a lot from the district itself.
From the district itself.
And again, throwing that hot poker, I think, into the fire with you're mentioning something we're going to talk about, the foundation aid formula, it not living up to its name, really.
No.
But you guys are getting a bit of relief.
We're hoping so. We had the relief with the former governor. Until Spitzer, until he had gotten into some trouble, we had an agreement with him where we stopped the lawsuit. They were going to pay us some money over the years, and then when Patterson came in, he stopped the funding. So we had reenacted the lawsuit again. And what we're talking about is the campaign for fiscal equity, because basically, what they owe us a tremendous amount of money. But if we followed the foundation aid for the City of Utica School District, it's almost $50 to $60 million additional funding a year for us. I mean, that's a lot of money.
That's huge.
And when we cut 361 staff over the years because we started to see the foundation aid changed out for what was called gap elimination. It was there to make a difference. The formulas were complicated, but school districts like Utica, Niagara Falls, Mount Vernon, whatever, the other small schools, it hurt us. It hurt poor districts and low performing districts, and it helped the Westchester counties of the world.
Hurt the districts in need.
In need, exactly.
And with this story here, we're looking at nearly $300,000, and something Sam and I were going back and forth about, just over $1.1 billion being put out there. So how do you get the amount that you guys get? How is that determined?
That's the interesting part. Well, let's go back, because there is a catch to this whole thing.
Sure.
Because even if we win the lawsuit, and from what I understand, the governor still has final approval of whether or not he wants to fund it.
Well,
we can come back and say, hey, look, yes, we won. You won, but we decided we're not going to pay it, or we'll pay a portion. So it's in his hands. But he's starting to come around. So I think things might be okay.
You would hope.
Chris Salatino, the president of Utica City School District, joining us on the Talk of the Town, 100.7 FM WUTQ. You mentioned all the changes that have come about in downtown since the last decade or so, and how we're preparing for Nano Utica, and hopefully an influx of a lot of young professionals into the area. They'll want better schools. How do you go about going forward to try and provide that for them as an incentive to move into this area?
Well, you know what? I'm pretty proud of where we are. We have a wonderful school district. When we compare ourselves to a lot of districts similar to our size, our graduations. Look, our graduation rates as they are, if we take away some of the things that the state doesn't allow us to have, a fifth-year student is not considered our graduation rates. Anyone with an IEP or a special education program, an IEP can be a student having longer time on tests because of an issue. They're not considered in our graduation rates. And given the makeup of our district, that takes away from our graduation rates. But even where we're at, if we threw all of those back in, we would be around 80% graduation rate, which is pretty good. 60%, I think, or 67%. But until you get to receive 100%, you're never, you can't stop striving for what we're doing.
Also, your teachers are basically the stars of your system. They're very valuable. I read a story about a teacher in Alabama recently who I think was a teacher of the year a couple of different times, and because of a Common Core type of evaluation system there, she had been graded down as a teacher when she had won an award for a couple of different years. Is that something trying to maintain these teachers and keep them interested in the educational process? Are you finding that to be a challenge because of this system?
Challenge. You're not seeing people go into teaching because for a while there they were the new pariah. No one wanted to be a teacher, and teachers were under fire. And I think we're starting to see a change in that. But you take a teacher that we have in our district, and with a percentage of English as second language students that we have. You have a classroom of 30 people or 28 people or students, and now you throw in 12 of those who don't speak the language. It's impossible for that teacher, no matter what she does, for them to perform on the standardized testing. And that's what they're tying in the teacher's performance to. And then, of course, they're saying, well, if you don't perform after so many years, 10 years off the table, we'll see you later. It's not fair. It's just not fair. But because we see how hard our students work. And the interesting part, we've seen those students transition. And this year, the top 10 students in Proctor, I think almost 7 or 8 of them were students with foreign backgrounds who came here as immigrants.
Yeah.
And have performed, and every one of those students either went to Ivy. We had Harvard. We had, I think we had 3 Ivy. I know we had a Harvard. We had 2 in the military academies, and 2 of the military academies, and of course MIT, RIT. We had some great students. So we're seeing success, and we're seeing great things happen. The district's wonderful. Some of the programs we have, we have the Bridge program with MV, Utica College, Colgate, where students finish their senior year and get a full year of college. So there's so many programs. We have all the AP programs we provide are free for the students.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of those graduating. I know last year a lot of great success stories coming out of those those students you mentioned. I know Trin, she's been on.
She's an amazing person. She's really something, isn't she?
Yeah. And we saw her at the TED Talk, I think.
Yeah, and with that, I see a story coming out this morning that in America, 350 different languages being spoken. And I know, that's, you mentioned that, but that's
we're in the 40s in our district. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Some of the other things that, you mentioned some of the good, some of the other things you're still facing that we can improve on.
Well, anything we have. We have Martin Luther King School, which we saw some great progress there. The state gave us some additional money, additional funding to see that school change. We watched a 12% increase in student success, and when we reached the bar, they raised the bar on us and said, well, now it's still a school in need of improvement, and put us in. Now the superintendent's the receiver of the school. If we went back a year and saw that achievement, we surpassed what their expectations were, but then they raised the bar on us. But we're starting to do some great things there as well. Great principal there. And, what we found, and this is really interesting, when we brought families involved in the students' educational life, we saw an increase. It's amazing. We took, and if I guess it's one of those, if you feed them, they'll come. If you do things for them, they'll come. If you provide them with rides to the school and get them involved in it, they'll be there. And we started to see a dramatic change in the students.
So there's specific programs that do that?
Oh, yeah. We're doing all sorts of things that really are thinking out of the box for student achievement for Martin Luther King School.
Great. Chris, thanks for coming in. We've got some extra Halloween candy left over in that blue bucket if you'd like to dig in and have some.
It's the breakfast of champions. There's a Kit Kat in there. There's got to be good. It's a cookie, right?
Is that your favorite? Are you a Kit Kat guy or not?
Well, not necessarily, but for breakfast, you don't feel as guilty as, say, let's eating a Snickers.
So like a power bar, right?
Exactly.
Got all the vitamins in there.
It's great to be here, and you guys have a great day. I know you have a lot of great people coming in. So
yeah, thanks, Chris.
I appreciate being here.
Chris, thanks.
You.
Appreciate it.